Hello, my good people. Another day, another narcissistic awareness video. What can I say? Today, we will talk about the emotional level of the narcissist, as well as about enablers and how the narcissist uses all this. And you need to understand narcissists if you want to make sense of what happened to you if you have been entangled with these personalities. Excuse me. So, let's begin with the emotional level of the narcissist, the emotional maturity level. And you should know that narcissists are kind of stuck in their childhood. And this is because in the development, when they were children, they have been disturbed and traumatized, which means they got stuck. And we all know that children in their play can be kind of very remorseless and very direct. I mean, children at play are great. It's a great thing, and they can be very social and everything can be fine. But we also know this kind of remorselessness, that they exclude others from the play. They get angry, they can't regulate their frustration that good, they act out, which is not a bad thing per se, but it's just a fact that this is happening. And children don't have ethical or moral codes embedded in them, okay? So this means sometimes they are very, they can just be picking on the weakness of another child and directly speaking it out and exclude them from play and say, oh, you are not allowed to play with us and stuff like that. So, and the narcissist has been disturbed in this development time and stuck on the same level. So they cannot regulate their emotions the same way a healthy person can. Yet the narcissist has learned to not show it the same way. So behind the curtain, behind the facade, behind the narcissistic mask, behind the false self, the emotional level of the narcissist is that of a child. So they have these anger attacks, and sometimes, very seldom, they drop their mask, and then you see it. It's like a child. It's like a tantrum. It is a tantrum. It is the anger that a child has when it's frustrated. Like, why is it not working? It is so unfair. Why do you make me accountable? I'm just a child. I have come short in my life. Why is it so injustice? So this is the anger, the narcissistic rage. Actually, it is very ugly when they drop their mask and you see this absolutely raw, and it can be a very raw and inhuman expression of aggression or anger. But it can also, of course, especially in the covert narcissist, have this sadistic smile when they drop their masks, and it's ugly. It's one of the most disturbing things you can see in your life. Actually, for me, at least. Um, and this is again because they cannot regulate their emotions the same way as a grown-up person can, but they learned to hide it behind their mask. So the anger is there, the same level of you know it's unempathetic. It's just like a child, okay. And this is because in the phase of individuation and this is actually the healthy narcissism is when children learn all these things, and then they are meant to learn to regulate these things, to overcome frustration, to learn also ethics, social behavior rules. And this is why parents should then accompany the child in frustration, accompany the child when the child is not really fair to someone else, and teach it. And the narcissist cannot teach it because he does not authentically apply these rules to their own life. And children immediately feel if somebody is just talking but not really embodying or being able to do the same thing that the parent expects their children to understand. So, in other words, a narcissism is not really good at teaching a child social skills and emotional regulation. By the way, emotional regulation and addiction and abuse, these three things are going very close together, which means a person who cannot regulate its own emotions the way a healthy person can will need either a substance to calm it down, to satisfy this disbalance, to balance out the body chemistry, the emotional level. Emotional level is nothing else, but it's also mirrored in the body chemistry. So the person needs a substance to create the balance, to balance itself out. And if it doesn't get the substance, some people become abusive, which means they project their inner war, their inner terror onto other people or let other people suffer in order to gain joy. And this is the sadistic side that some narcissists have. So, in other words, they need to make others suffer to regulate their own emotions. And this is why emotional regulation of yourself, addiction to substances, and abuse are very close together. So there are people who might be addicted to a substance, but when they don't get the substance, they might get self-destructive. So they direct the inability and the aggression actually that happens, or the disbalance, into themselves. But there are also others who project it to the outside. And of course, there's a covert narcissist, he can do both. So he will be self-destructive and depressive, but make himself the center of attention, and this will enable him to extract supply, so he can destroy himself and others at the same time. I love these guys. Anyway, in disguise. These guys in disguise. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about these things of, addiction and emotional regulation too much. So the narcissist is on the level of a child, right? In certain things, but he learned to hide it behind a mask in most cases. But sometimes you can make the mask drop. So in many cases, the narcissist, as you know, is unempathetic and does not feel what others feel. He has no moral, that's what we know, and no ethics. All right. So this is also the reason why they have no shame and no pride. In a one-on-one situation, a narcissist is not ashamed of what he does. So you tell him, what? You just used a psychopath to get rid of your husband and traumatized your own children? And the narcissist will be like, yes. So what? So no shame and also no pride, because a proud person is proud probably because it's acting following principles and virtues, and thus it is a proud, self-sustaining person. And this is the opposite of a narcissist, right? So they have no shame and no real pride, but they have a fake version, their own version of it. And that is, if other public persons that a narcissist think they are important, if you in front of these persons make the narcissist accountable and tell him what he did, he will be very ashamed. And he will say, no, it's not true, or he will victim blame or generalize, or both. Which means he will say, oh, But the person I did that to said a certain sentence. So, in other words, the narcissist will blame the person to why he got abused by the narcissist. And the narcissist as well will generalize and say, well, I have experienced a similar situation and it isn't that bad, or it wasn't hitting the person so much because this and that is the case. So they will also, belittle the situation. They will generalize, belittle, and victim blame, okay? I mean, and this means, victim blaming, by the way, means that the narcissist says, yes, I am an abusive asshole, but because you have contact to me, it's your own fault that I abuse you. Of course I abuse you. Look who I am. Okay? This is victim blaming, nothing else. Okay. Oh, we're already 11 minutes in. That's crazy. Okay. Now, back to the maturity level of the narcissist like a child. If the narcissist, often he will create things because, he thinks in terms of extracting narcissistic supply, and this is the only category he can think of. Self-absorbed, no ethics, no moral, no emotions of other people, no other people, actually, just objects. And then they will present, like a child, they will present their new creation. Look what I made, look how great it is. And an empathetic person will look at this creation and say, whoa, what did you do? This is a Frankenstein. This is terrible. This traumatizes people. This is absolutely unacceptable. You were breaking all the unwritten rules of ethics and moral. You did something absolutely terrible. And the narcissist will say, oh, really? I didn't mean that. I didn't know that. And this is why they need enablers. Enablers are people who help the narcissist to disguise their creations that are not acceptable, that traumatize people, that are absolutely antisocial. And then they need people who act as if everything is okay and this is just normal. This is it. This is it. This is the product. Yeah, that's okay. No problem. Nobody traumatized. And this is the shared fantasy. And everybody needs to buy this fantasy or he will be excluded out of the mini cult of the narcissist. And this is also like a Judas goat. A goat that leads other goats when they go to the butcher, to their own slaughter. And there is one goat who knows it will not get slaughtered, but it leads the other goats there. And this is an enabler. He makes the others believe that everything is okay. This is, So the other people that are there to be fooled will look at the emotional reaction of the Judas goat, of the enabler. And the enabler will be like, it's all okay. You can go, we are safe here, this is fine. The others will feel like a fight or flight situation. They will feel the stress and the fear and the anxiety. But because the narcissist has enough enablers, enough people who make the others believe that this is okay and this is it, this is the product, the others will make their own intuition, they will silence their own intuition, their own feelings, and this creates trauma. And by the shared fantasy that is forced on them, yes, so the narcissist is a very helpless child that forces everyone around him to accept his shared fantasy, or the person will be excluded from playing with them anymore. Have a very nice Thursday.